Properties.com to learn more, and thanks to everybody who supports high school athletics, and enjoy this night of high school football in the borough.
Sir Speedy is a proud sponsor of high school football on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. At Sir Speedy Music City, we provide commercial print, signs, and mailing services to companies all over Tennessee and actually all over the world. If you need anything like that, you give us a call, 615-832-9511, SirSpeedyMusicCity.com. We are a proud sponsor of high school athletics on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. Call us at 615-832-9511. Go to the web at SirSpeedyMusicCity.com or email us at print@SirSpeedyMusicCity.com. We are the official sign company of the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Game of the Week.
You're listening to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Game of the Week, live on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. Here's Joe Fisher.
Surprise! It's not Joe Fisher, it's me, Bruno Reagan. I'm like Joe Fisher, except without the years, the experience, the skills, the knowledge. But we were both involved in Vanderbilt at the same time, so that was pretty cool. Welcome to the high school WNSR Mid-State Checkdown post-game show. Say that 10 times fast. It's me, it's your boy, Ray Dosky. Devlin's currently out. I was out last week, so I appreciate Ray and Devlin picking up the slack while I was out. I was visiting my sister, my beautiful sister, at her last college home volleyball game ever, so I appreciate everyone at the station picking up my slack and getting us to this point. I mean, that had to have been the most wild game ever. And I said it at the end of my halftime show. I said, man, it was 21-7. Lebanon was up, but I was like, I expect Lebanon to run the clock out and win handedly, but this is playoff time, and you just gotta expect anything. And of course, it comes down to the wire, and we'll talk more about that. But real quick, I did want to go to the Cura hotline. I don't want to keep this man waiting any longer. My co-host on the afternoon stretch here at WNSR 4 to 6 p.m., Zach Williams. Cura hotline 615-844-5600 for anybody who wants to call in with any scores, updates, or what you saw. But let's get Zach Williams on the line. Zach, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Your co-host of the afternoon stretch. It was a tough ball game for the Hendersonville Commandos. They end up falling and ending their season 27-3 against Smyrna. It was just from the get-go, first play of the game, Smyrna takes a 54-yard run to the end zone and just never looked back. I'm forgetting Aria Carter, I believe is his name. We talked about him actually earlier today on the show, who committed to Memphis, had 35 offers across the country, four-star athlete at linebacker. He's got some schools that you may have heard of that are looking for him at linebacker: Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, basically the entire SEC, and every team in the country wants this kid. And he's not a bad running back at all. Commandos there's not much to be said. This just was a tough year for them. Getting into the playoffs, there's part of me that wants to do that whole moral victory thing. But, when you got teams like Shelbyville who are getting 100 points scored on them by Oakland with a 1-9 record in the playoffs, it kind of cheapens it a little bit to say, well, they got into the playoffs. So I don't even know if that's really what you can say. It was just kind of a tough way to end. And seniors like Steven Mack, who I've talked about all year on this show, and Dale Payne, and just different guys that were on this team that were so integral to a lot of big wins that the Commandos did end up getting throughout this regular season. You just hate for them that this was their last ball game on the road in Smyrna. And offensive line, I mean, if we're looking at the game directly, offensive line was just not able to get any kind of push, not able to get any kind of if it was defensive line, not any kind of penetration. Just a tough ball game all around for the Commandos, and an unfortunate loss to a not super great season, but the hang the hat on, they got into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to be that guy either, because anything is possible. But with the season Hendersonville had, it was kind of like, could they go on a magical run? Maybe. But it wasn't expected that they were going to be, champions. So what Hendersonville has to do now, try and send those seniors off the best way they can, but try to get back to their winning ways as well. I believe we talked about this. Is Hendersonville moving down to 5A for next season?
They'll be moving down to 5A, which is really big for them. They've always been a very small school. I mean, they've been borderline 4A for a long. I mean, at least enrollment-wise, this whole time that they've been inside of 6A. So, they, taking on the likes of teams like Oakland, Lebanon, who y'all heard tonight, Maryville, Riverdale, Blackman. I mean, these teams have so many more kids to pull from, and I'm not using that as a crutch for Hendersonville, and I think it's a little tough for me because obviously I'm an alum, but I've been doing play-by-play with Hendersonville now, I believe, 4 years, and 3 of those Hendersonville wins the region and goes deep into the playoffs. So I feel like I'm a little bit what's the word I'm looking for here, where it's just too much of a good thing. So it's kind of even surreal to see the Commandos get bounced out in the first round. But going down to 5A next season is going to be really beneficial for that team, and bringing back guys like Mason Baker, Stedwin Max, Stevin's brother, who will be a senior next year, and he's going to be probably the running back that we'll talk about next year. Good Lord willing, we're all still around to doing this, and just bringing those kind of guys back. Well, I have a lot of faith in what the Commandos are going to do, but just got a little too much of a good thing with how good they have been in the last few years, and even in a down season where they get into the playoffs, it still feels like I had the optimism going into the game. I was like, this is, they still could win. I still feel like just the Hendersonville way, they just find ways to win in games that doesn't seem like they're going to do it. But tonight, Smyrna just had all the questions and answers. They've been studying and they were ready to come out. And Smyrna looks good. They look like a really good team. And Carter is a kid that you're gonna hear his name on Saturdays for sure. He's a strong kid, great defensive mind. It looks he was all over the place, playing both sides of the ball. He really lived up to the hype going into that game.
And let me ask you this, because you've gotten to see a lot of these teams out of being a virtue of being in the region. So you're in the Sumner County area. You got Hendersonville around, Gallatin, Mount Juliet, Lebanon. What team from the county is going to probably make the biggest splash? Is it the easy answer? Is it like a Beach or who's gonna be the team to follow now out of that county?
The easiest answer is going to be Beach.
Yeah.
That's the easiest answer out of all this. Beach is they put a mollywhopping on McGavick, 49-22. That game was 49-0 in the fourth quarter, so I think McGavick just got some garbage time touchdowns. But Beach is the easy answer. The hard answer is Pope Prep.
Yes.
Pope Prep with what they're doing there, Coach Snead taking over his first year, they get the win against Briarcrest. Depending on what their bracket looks like, it's never easy in Division 2A, but it's a tough draw no matter what in that classification. But they've just been a really good team as of late, and some of the pieces that they have on that team are some win now kind of kids. So I wouldn't be shocked by that one.
And this is, I think, last question I have for you, Zach, and just out of my own ignorance, I have to ask, although Hendersonville will be moving down to 5A, they'll still be in that, big region, right? So their regular season games will all be the same kind of tests.
Yeah, I mean, so they'll be out of conference games with Beach will be moving to 5A as well. So they may still be in the same region with Beach. I don't know exactly how it's going to shake out.
Okay.
I believe Gallatin is staying 6A, so they will play each other. Henderson and Gallatin are going to play each other no matter what. It's the oldest rivalry in Sumner County. But it won't, I mean, not to say it won't mean anything. It'll mean everything to the players, but it won't have the region, ties to it inside of it. So they still will be playing some of those teams. I got to look to see who all's gone down to 5A, where they're going to be at. I'm not sure exactly, but they're going to play the kids in Sumner County, obviously. The beach game will still be the Mayor's Cup. That's going to happen no matter what. Gallatin's still going to happen no matter what. And to be fair, I mean, they're still probably going to play Oakland. I don't think they're afraid to go play Oakland. Beasley's has played him every single year inside of their regular season. I don't see that changing for James Beasley. He does that for a reason. So that one wouldn't shock me at all.
Well, that's Zach Williams, play-by-play announcer for the Hendersonville Commandos and host of the Afternoon Stretch here on our own WNSR. Zach, I appreciate you coming on.
This is the last time I'm doing this. I'm just realizing that's kind of wistful, It's sad, but go Commandos, and we'll see you in 2023.
I'll see you there, Zach. Not my Clarksville Wildcats; they're still playing, but we'll see you there.
Well, I'll see everybody 4:00 Monday for the Afternoon Stretch.
That is true.
Overreaction Monday,
Yeah, overreact. All right, Zach. I appreciate you.
Bye.
That's Zach Williams, my brother. To be honest, he's awesome, dude. He's been following the Hendersonville Commandos. Hendersonville had a rough start, was losing some players down there at the stretch. They got him back, but it wasn't enough cohesion, make a run of the playoff. Real quick, we'll have Terry covering the Beach McGavitt game. Speaking of, in that same little pod of the 6A playoff. But before we do that, we're gonna run to a break. I'm Bruno Reagan. That's Ray Dosky. You're listening to WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
Did you know there's a place where you can get good neighbor service and surprisingly great rates on home and auto insurance? Yep, and that place is, ta-da, State Farm. Here's the deal. State Farm agent Austin Hardy is your go-to agent in the Middle Tennessee community for the service you desire at the price you want. So stop shopping around. State Farm agent Austin Hardy has you covered. Call 615-810-9999 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
If you're in the mood for quality burgers and handmade milkshakes, Mooyah is where you need to be. With 2 locations in Brentwood and Franklin, Mooyah is your only choice for handcrafted Angus beef burgers, fresh cut fries, and homemade ice cream milkshakes. With vegan, paleo, and keto options, Mooyah has something for every taste. Order online, dine in, or carry out. Located in Brentwood and in Franklin off West McEwen Drive. For the best quality and the best taste at the best price, make it Mooyah. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike, Southern Trophy has been serving Nashville and Middle Tennessee for over 62 years. Southern Trophy offers a wide array of services like custom designed awards, cast bronze plaques, etched crystal awards, laser engraved corporate gifts, promotional items, merch, embroidery, screen printing, signage, and banners. Browse their entire collection online at southerntrophy.com or on Facebook at Southern Trophy. Feel free to give them a call at 615-256-7295. That's 615-256-7295. Southern Trophy. They do their best to help you recognize your best.
Lifetime Murfreesboro resident and businessman Taylor Wright and his T. Wright Properties and Century 21 Wright Realty are proud to be the sponsors of all the high school football coverage tonight on Nashville Sports Radio, especially the Blackman game at Riverdale High School. For rental property and property management, it's T. Wright Properties. For buying and selling real estate, it's Century 21 Wright Realty. Nobody does it better in Rutherford County. Visit TWrightProperties.com to learn more. And thanks to everybody who supports high school athletics and enjoy this night of high school football in the borough. Hello, this is Greg Pogue. The first time I met Tim Leeper, owner of Tim Leeper Roofing, I didn't know I needed a roof on my home, but I recalled meeting Tim as a huge supporter of Hope Hines' annual charity golf tournament, and upon further research at timleeperroofing.com, that his long-based mid-state company was a former recipient of Roofing Contractor of the Year in Tennessee. Now in these trying times, we all should seek a comfort level personally and professionally. So if you have roofing issues, either residential or commercial, I recommend Tim Leeper Roofing. Please give them a visit at timleeperroofing.com.
It's the Afternoon Stretch with Zach Williams and Bruno Reagan.
You know what the Mets stand for?
Metropolitan.
Yeah, that one.
Metropolitan is a flavor of ice cream, right?
Neapolitan.
Oh,
okay. Was that real?
I mean, half and half.
Oh, man. You talk about throwing me off complete. My equator is gone.
The Afternoon Stretch. Afternoon Stretch with Zach Williams and Bruno Reagan.
You're listening to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show with Bruno Reagan and Ray Dosky.
Welcome back, Mid-State Checkdown High School post-game show following our own Greg Pogue, Joe Fisher, covering the Riverdale-Lebanon game. Lebanon winning in double overtime, an absolute wild fashion. We'll get to that game. We'll get to the rest of the Mid-State Checkdown. But while we have callers, I want to make sure we keep on top of these guys and respect their time and the hard work they put in to cover these teams. So let's go to the Kira hotline, 615-844-5600. Terry covering the Beach McGavick game. Terry, how you doing?
Hey, Bruno. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How was your night?
I was pretty good. Beach total domination, 35-0 in the first quarter, and 49-6. It was 49-0, and Beach started putting in second and third team on defense in the late second quarter, and McGavick got a touchdown to make it 49-6, and then they added two more scores. And they kept playing their starters through the entire second half, and Beach finally put back in their starting defense and picked off a pass that ended. The story of the night was Caden Tiemann. He had 4 touchdowns, 2 on offense, 1 on a deflected interception for a pick 6, and then a punt return. He had a total of 2 interceptions. Beach scored 3 touchdowns on the first 8 plays from scrimmage.
Me personally, at halftime, I might go up and ask for a refund on my ticket. These playoffs, that is as dominant as a win as I've heard, especially in the playoff. And it's like McGavick's no pushover. They're a 7-3 team, so that's right. Beach sending a message to the rest of the state. I noticed Beach. I have the bracket pulled up here. They're 9-1. Can you remind me who their one loss was?
Farragut, the first game of the year, Farragut got 2 touchdowns on the first 5 offensive plays. Beach got behind 14-0, fought back, and it was a back-and-forth game, and Beach actually had the ball in deep in Farragut territory in the last couple of minutes of the game and could not convert. And I believe it was either a 3 or 4 point spread, and they ran off 10 straight since then. So we're 10-1 now.
I remember our conversation after our game. That was our first conversation was after that game. Right. Wow, how the tables have turned for Beach, and that takes some mental fortitude to start out 0-1 and run the gauntlet as they did. So Beach, they come in a number 1 seed, they get it done easily against McGavick. Now they play against Smyrna, who's also 8-1, just put down Hendersonville, a pretty good program that was having a down year. Right. What do you expect for this game? Do you expect Beach to continue the streak, and how do they look for the rest of the playoff in comparison?
Well, I think we scrimmaged Smyrna, actually, and, of course, this doesn't mean a lot, but we scrimmaged preseason Smyrna. And the way I remember, Bruno, they look a lot like us. They're very physical. They're a run-dominated team, and, they just get after you. And Beach's defense is as good as the offense looked tonight. I turned to my color man tonight, Brandon Shanks, and said, as good as we're playing on offense, the defense may actually be better tonight. They absolutely shut down Bell and Bass, who were, you could tell, are 2 gifted athletes for the McGavick Raiders. And they were trying to get outside on every play. They were throwing a lot of bubble screens and jet sweeps to get those kids outside, and Beach swarmed them. And I think it was the second quarter before they got a first down.
I'm going to ask you a little bit of an out there question. It might not even be, but I feel like we haven't even gotten the Friday Night Lights weather this season yet. It's kind of been just warm all the way around. I'm super surprised. Do you think if that comes in, that's going to be another dynamic teams have to mentally prepare for coming into the next?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm just going into the late weeks because it can happen at any moment.
It's coming next Friday. Rain's expected next Friday.
Yeah, and they always say, the later you get in the year, the running teams, because of the weather, like you're saying, it favors running teams. Well, if that cliche is true, then that should favor, both Smyrna and Beach, because, as you know, in the Anthony Crabtree coach team at Beach has been run dominated. We're not going to put up, we did have 1 touchdown pass tonight, but basically Beach is running, depending on the offensive line. We got 4 seniors and 2 really good running backs who J.P. Courtney joined the 1,000-yard club tonight. Darius Johnson was already there, so Beach has 2 running backs now with 1,000-plus yards, and another one with 600.
Hey, Terry, you just spoke about how Beach, much like Shelby, much like Smyrna, pretty much almost the same team in terms of how they line up. Talk to me a little bit about Beach. What do you think they have to do in order to get the W next week in the second round of the playoffs?
Just keep doing what they're doing. They have to probably throw in enough passes like they Justice Law hit K.J. Harris on a post pattern tonight for a beautiful touchdown, and he only threw the ball about 3 times. And, maybe have to throw a little bit more just to keep Smyrna honest, but just keep doing what they're doing. They use the jet sweep a lot to Tiemann, and then they've got 2 real good running backs up the middle, and they just get behind this offensive line who is not really big, but they're, like I said, they've got 4 seniors, and they're getting the job done up front. And then Beach's defense is smothering. They really are, especially their front 7, and that's what it's going to take to keep going.
Terry, is the game at Beach or is it at Smyrna next week?
It's at Beach. Beach is
so they get the home field advantage there, too. Oh, fantastic.
Now, what happens if we survive beyond that and beat Cane Ridge, then we would have to go out there. If your school, Clarksville, can upset Cane Ridge, then they will come to Shackle Island Stadium. Otherwise, we'll have to go to Cane Ridge, and then the semifinal game will more than likely be in Williamson County. So we're looking maybe at our last home game next Friday night.
Interesting. Well, I appreciate you calling in, Terry, giving us this update, and we'll hopefully we get you next week and get the update on Beach through their playoff run.
Okay, you guys have a good night. Thanks
have a good one, Terry.
Take care.
Take care.
Goodbye.
Beach with total domination over McGavick. I think he said 35-0 after the first quarter, 49-0 going in halftime, pulling starters late in the second quarter. That's unheard of in playoff football. So Beach is obviously a tear and probably one of the favorites to win 6A. I'm sure they're up there with Cane Ridge, Bartlett, Oakland. So 6A is absolutely stacked. Real quick, I want to get back to the Cure Hotline because it's the man, the myth, the legend, Greg Pogue, who was on call tonight. I want to make sure we get him on and respect his time. 615-844-5600. Let's go to him. Greg, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. So a wild one. Lebanon gets up 28-7 and just cruising along, and a couple plays, a defensive stop, a big hit, a big long play, and it turns completely around. 21 unanswered points to force overtime, 28 unanswered points to take the lead in overtime, and just a lot of things happening. Both failed on extra point kicks. One of them, they had to push it back with a questionable celebration penalty in the end zone. I didn't get, but Lebanon, for the second year in a row, beats Riverdale. Abston, the quarterback, I'd heard a lot about him. A dual threat. He has like 5,400 career offensive yards passing and running, and certainly OVC level at the lowest, and that's not a slight at the OVC, certainly, because there's a lot of great playmakers in that league that look just like him, that dual threat quarterback. And Lebanon just keeps rolling on, and they survived by the hair of their chinny-chin-chins.
I'm glad you mentioned that the OVC isn't a slight, because it's not. I mean, a lot of NFL players go out of the OVC. Most notably, I think Jimmy G out of Eastern Illinois. I'm pretty sure that's out of that same conference. Or if not, it's around that similar level.
Tony Romo, we can go on and on with quarterbacks from the OVC. And obviously, I cover the OVC and with TSU and work closely with the OVC at the quality of football. My point was this, that his brand of football fits that spread tempo that they play on the FCS level, because they don't have a lot of the big dominant linemen. But back to Lebanon, it was, such a swing of emotions. But now, you said it, and the Beach McGavick, the win by Beach didn't surprise me, the outcome, just total dominance. But you will get that in these first rounds, like Oakland beating Shelbyville, when there's just ones playing 4s or 2s, playing 3s in weaker regions, quite frankly. And so now Lebanon's got to turn around and play Oakland again, and Oakland, obviously the defending state champion.
Before I get into more of the meat and bones of the game, I was dying to ask you, because we get into the first overtime. Riverdale scores, they go for 2, they miss. Lebanon scores, they line up for the kick, but there was a flag, and it was unsportsmanlike. Was that a real unsportsmanlike on your call? Because that whole thing surprised me. I would have been heartbroken for Lebanon if they lost in double overtime just because of that call. Or was that maybe just a eagerness out of the refs? Or what was your opinion on that?
Well, yeah, and I don't know. I don't Joe and I talked about it, and I thought the low snap that the holder panicked and got out of the hold quicker than he should have. And so I think that was what happened there. But the celebration call in the end zone where you tied the game, it's been an emotional game, obviously, back and forth. And no one left the sideline. There was no taunting. It was just the players coming to celebrate, with the running back and bounce around and happy and blah, blah, blah. And they were dispersing. I don't know. I just thought it was that's not where you interject yourself into the game in that situation if you're the back judge who made the call. Yep. I think that was a play-on situation where there was, in my mind, I saw nothing unsportsmanlike in anything that happened, but Lebanon survives.
Greg, I want to ask you about the beginning of the game because I also heard in your call, you and Joe do an amazing job, and I can almost see the game through your call, but I always want to ask on the little details. I believe Lebanon, obviously, they come out, they're striking early. Riverdale, they turn it over, and I believe in your call you said the Riverdale running back just quit on the play, and I know that's a coach's worst nightmare, because you tackle that guy, you save some yards, you might save points, et cetera, et cetera. Can you drive me through maybe that situation, or if it was savable and they just didn't know it, or even how the turnover margin affected the game down the stretch?
Well, it did. At that time, it was 7-0. It made it a 2-score game, 14-0 early, and then Riverdale was having to play from behind, and it was a strip. The play had not finished, but it was apparent that he was going to be going down, and the cornerback just comes in and takes the ball away from him. Forward momentum had not stopped. There was no whistle, though there should have been. And the thing about it is, and we talked with Coach Chuck Gentry, Lebanon coach, about that, part of that, you play football, part of that is taught, but part of it has to be instinctive as well. And when you have those two together, with the two takeaways tonight, Lebanon has 22 takeaways to only 6 giveaways, and Abston, I think now with 21 touchdown passes to only 1 interception. So you're talking about a plus 16 turnover ratio. And that's why Lebanon is where they are in a lot of ways. When you're evenly matched with a team and you can have the win-to-turnover ratio, you win a lot of football games.
Now, Greg, I have to ask you before I let you go. Lebanon, they have an absolutely big win. They hold on. Riverdale, no slouch of a team, great defense. They get it done in double overtime. Now Lebanon has to go on the road, play against the big dogs, Oakland, a team that apparently ran into, I heard in your call, last year. Can you preview that game, and is there a path to victory for Lebanon to make this what would be a huge upset?
It would be a huge upset, and Oakland is just a machine. They had their, I believe it was 36-37 game win streak, 2-time state champion at the highest level. They are, in my mind, the premier public, if not the premier football program in the state right now. Certainly you can throw in an NBA where they are and maybe a Brentwood Academy, but not with the sustained success Oakland has had here in this run. It's going to be a tall task. Oakland is just so good on both sides of the football, and that loss to CPA stunned a lot of people. The CPA, Ingle Martin, a really good football coach, no doubt about it, a good football team, maybe not as strong this year as they have been. They've lost a lot of people to the next level over the past few years. But then CPA turns around and loses to an FRA, for example. And the FRA is a good football team with Justin Geisinger, a former Commodore like you, as the head coach. But, they're prohibitive underdogs. I don't see it happening. If it is, they have the playmaker, Abston, the quarterback. They got Kroll, the wide receiver. They have some playmakers, but I just don't think enough of them on both sides of the ball.
And last one I'll ask you before I let you go. Do you think that loss to Oakland might have actually helped them? Do you think there's that insight to that where maybe they know they're not vulnerable and the guys know they're not invincible, and really you can turn a regular season loss to a team like CPA into something that reminds them who they are into the playoff? Do you think there's some aspect of that playing into this Oakland team?
Well, counting tonight, since that loss, I'm going to ballpark it to get the exact number and adding in the 65 tonight. I think they've outscored their opposition since that loss 130-7. So, yeah.
It must be funny buying Oakland football tickets. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so, yes.
Yeah, well, Greg, that's Greg Pogue.
And, you know,
go ahead, Greg.
No, I'll just say thanks. I'd say so. Oakland, the prohibitive favorite, and on that side of the bracket, they'd always run into Maryville. Maryville slip back a little bit on that side. It's quite frankly, 6A is Oakland's to lose. It really is.
Yeah. Greg, I appreciate you. That's Greg Pogue. He does our color analysis along with our play-by-play, Joe Fisher, on WNSR Checkdown Games of the Week. I expect you'll probably get to call a few more here down the end of it. Greg, I appreciate you, brother.
All right, and I appreciate it being in Lebanon. I'm almost home.
Nice. And I heard you guys arguing about who had the pleasure to call me, so I'm glad you lost the coin flip. Greg, I appreciate you.
Well, here's the deal.
Okay.
If whoever gets to call you, that's an excuse to leave early and not help Adam pack up.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'd take that one. Greg, thank you, buddy.
Guys.
That's Greg Pogue. He's one of the best. He hosts a show tomorrow, too, 8 a.m., right, Ray? 8
a.m.? 8 to 9 o'clock, prep football talk.
It's here on WNSR 560 AM 95.9 FM. If you want to listen on the WNSR app, I've heard the reads enough. It is the longest running high school prep talk show in the mid-state. That's Greg Pogue, and this is his specialty. So if you want all the insight on round one in any classification, 1A through 6A public school, A through AAA and D2, I'm sure they're going to get it down. They have a great crew there. Real quick, we have to run to a break. I'm Bruno Reagan. We got Ray behind the board today with Devlin out. You're listening to WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
You've been listening to the Mid-State Checkdown High School
On air and online, Sports Radio, WNSR, Brentwood, Nashville.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. More Get Out the Vote campaigning with Election Day Tuesday. Herschel Walker.
Hello, welcome back. Real quick, we're having some technical stuff behind the board. Ray's going to get that fixed before we go to a break. But before that, we'll talk. I'm going to take this moment to talk about the Division I Class 1A state playoff bracket, because 1A is something I'm not usually used to. It's a lower level division, but there are a lot of teams, and there are some teams in the mid-state that compete in this. So I'm going to go through and take the time to talk about Class 1A state football, their playoff bracket, and their round one results. So Cloudland defeats Oakdale 38-28. Oliver Springs defeats Cosby 35-21. Unaka defeats Greenback 44-20. Coalfield defeats North Green 56-6. South Pittsburgh defeats Red Boiling Springs 52-17. Groundsville defeats Lookout Valley 49-8. Whitwell, they are currently still on. They're one of the later running games. Clay County defeats Sales Creek 49-0. South Fulton, they fall to Fayetteville 75-28. Dresden, they defeat Eagleville 45-14. Moore County, they defeat McElwain 28-14. Mackenzie, they defeat Wayne County 63-0. Peabody defeats Bluff City 35-0. Booker T. Washington, they triumph over Halls 24-6. Lake County defeats Memphis Middle College 36-6. In the last game in 1A, Mace, M-A-S-E, defeats West Carroll 50-0. And that'll round up our 1A state playoff round one. Real quick, we are going to head to that break. So you're listening to Bruno Reagan, Ray Dosky behind the board, and this is WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
Greg Pogue back once again to tell you about Bongo Java, Nashville's oldest and most celebrated coffee company, now also located in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Reward yourself for surviving Nashville traffic with fresh, locally roasted coffee, classic handcrafted espresso drinks, and fresh baked goods all day long. And free Wi-Fi, so you don't have to work from home. Number one in customer service. You made it through the traffic. Reward yourself with a perfect pick-me-up at Bongo Java. Fresh coffee, delicious treats, great atmosphere. Open 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. daily. Bongo Java at the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, Ray here from Run With It. Let me tell you about our sponsor, Boom Boss Craft Pizza and Tap House. And with 4 locations in Bellevue, Murfreesboro, Spring Hill, and East Nashville, they're your home for the best gourmet pizza and craft beers in Music City. Join me on Monday nights at the East Nashville location for poker night. And if you think you know everything, try Wednesday night trivia at both locations. Gourmet pizzas, craft beers, online at BoomBozz.com. Boom Boss Craft Pizza and Tap House.
Hello, this is Greg Pogue. The first time I met Tim Leeper, owner of Tim Leeper Roofing, I didn't know I needed a roof on my home, but I recalled meeting Tim as a huge supporter of Hope Hines' annual charity golf tournament, and upon further research at timleeperroofing.com, that his long-based mid-state company was a former recipient of Roofing Contractor of the Year in Tennessee. Now in these trying times, we all should seek a comfort level personally and professionally. So if you have roofing issues, either residential or commercial, I recommend Tim Leeper Roofing. Please give them a visit at timleeperroofing.com. Lifetime Murfreesboro resident and businessman Taylor Ryan and his T. Wright Properties and Century 21 Wright Realty are proud to be the sponsors of all the high school football coverage tonight on Nashville Sports Radio, especially the Blackman game at Riverdale High School. For rental property and property management, it's T. Wright Properties. For buying and selling real estate, it's Century 21 Wright Realty. Nobody does it better in Rutherford County. Visit TWrightProperties.com to learn more. And thanks to everybody who supports high school athletics, and enjoy this night of high school football in the borough.
Sir Speedy is a proud sponsor of high school football on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. At Sir Speedy Music City, we provide commercial print, signs, and mailing services to companies all over Tennessee and actually all over the world. If you need anything like that, you give us a call, 615-832-9511, SirSpeedyMusicCity.com. We are a proud sponsor of high school athletics on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. Call us at 615-832-9511. Go to the web at SirSpeedyMusicCity.com or email us at print@SirSpeedyMusicCity.com. We are the official sign company of the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Game of the Week.
Did you know there's a place where you can get good neighbor service and surprisingly great rates on home and auto insurance? Yep, and that place is, ta-da, State Farm. Here's the deal. State Farm agent Austin Hardy is your go-to agent in the Middle Tennessee community for the service you desire at the price you want. So stop shopping around. State Farm agent Austin Hardy has you covered. Call 615-810-9999 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
Welcome back to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show with your hosts, SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week, Bruno Reagan and Ray Dosky.
That's so bad. Welcome back, Mid-State Checkdown post-game show. Coming off the back of Joe Fisher and Greg Pogue's call at Riverdale and Lebanon. That was a hilarious one. They did really well about that. Yeah, we're gonna have to brainstorm all year next year for what we got coming up. But real quick, we did our 1A review. I'm gonna start rattling off some of these because we've gotten caught up with the callers, which I love. That makes this show super easy. But I want to make sure we're getting the scores update all on all brackets all across the Mid-State. So we're gonna go to a Mid-State Checkdown scoreboard update. Class 2A in Public School Division of the TSSAA, going through the scores. Hampton defeats Oneida 32-0. Monterey, they defeat Happy Valley 40-6. Rockwood, they fall to South Green 34-16. The York Institute defeats Cumberland Gap 62-8. Tyner defeats Trousdale County 47-14. Westmoreland, currently not updated on the list right now. Oh, they defeat Magus County 16-12. Good for Westmoreland. Bloodstow County defeats Harpeth 22-0. Polk County falls to East Robinson 55-28. Mount Pleasant defeats Scotts Hill 41-0. Riverside defeats Loretto 56-31. Richland falls to Adamsville in a very close game. Adamsville coming out 35-34. Cascade falls to Lewis County. Lewis County scores 32. Cascade scores 24. Westview defeats Kip Memphis 42-8. Union City, they defeat Freedom Prep 48-12. Huntington defeats Mitchell 50-12. And Fairleigh defeats Camden 62-33. Moving on to Class 3A of the public school bracket in the TSSAA football playoff. Round 1. Our results. We have Chucky Doak. What a unique school name.
I like that name.
43, they defeat Austin East, 8. Gatlinburg Pittman, they defeat Unico County, 56-28. Pigeon Forge, they defeat West Green, 48-0. Alcoa, traditional power in the division, they defeat Johnson County, 42-0. Sweetwater defeats Grundy County, 35-6. McMinn Central defeats Sequoia County, 43-27. I'm killing on these names right now. Loudon, they defeat Cannon County, 31-7. Giles County defeats Brainerd, 46-8. Smith County defeats Sycamore, 41-0. Fairview, they trounce Maplewood, 47-6. East Nashville defeats White House, very close game. Two really good teams, 14-10. Waverly defeats Stratford, 52-24. Covington defeats Hamilton, 42-6. Millington defeats Memphis East, 37-12. And Dyersburg, they defeat Raleigh Egypt, 58-12. The final game in our 3A bracket, Ripley, they defeat Sheffield, 26-21. And rounding out the last class of this segment, Class 4A in the state football playoff bracket, Tito Listable, round 1, Greenville, they defeat Knox Fulton, 45 to 6. Gibbs defeats Granger, 49-14. Elizabeth defeats Knoxville Carter, 49-7. Seymour falls to Anderson County, Seymour scoring 6, Anderson County scoring 55. East Hamilton defeats DeKalb County, 21-14. Upperman defeats Chattanooga Central, 34-7. Red Bank triumphs over Macon County, close game, 21-14. Stone Memorial defeats Hickson, 37-0. Pearl Cone defeats Jackson Southside, 38-0. Hardin County defeats Creekwood, 14-7. Chester County, they fall to Marshall County, 49-17. Lexington defeats Greenbrier, 40-6. Haywood, they defeat Kirby, 67-0. South Gibson defeats Craigmont, 35-18. Milan defeats Ridgeway, 42-7. And Melrose, they fall to Obion County, 42-32. And that rounds out our Class 4A division. And that'll round out our current segments, Mid-State Checkdown, High School Scoreboard Update. What a mouthful. The field gets cut in half, obviously, also. Yep. So there's some really good teams in those lower divisions. Historically, Alcoa out of 3 or 2A. I had already forgotten. I had just listed off 100-something teams, but Alcoa is typically one of those teams that's a traditional power. They're a 9-1 team right now. They used to go back and forth with Maryville all the time when I was in high school, so they were always a super fun watch. Let's go back to the classification that most of the listener base was probably involved in, and that's our 6A. We will get to our full scoreboard update on the tail end of the next hour, but we can talk about some of the scores we already know about. For example, we had our WNSR Mid-State Checkdown Game of the Week. Lebanon defeating Riverdale 41-34 in double overtime. But on the other side of the bracket, or on the other side of their pod in the bracket, they go up against what is considered the #1 public school in Tennessee in the past, it could be 8 years, Oakland. Oakland defeats Shelbyville 65-0, and Oakland will be playing Lebanon next week with home field advantage in the pre-quarterfinal, I guess you could call it. Oakland, let me
ask you this, bro. Before you continue, I don't mean to cut you off here.
No, you're perfect.
So, if you're talking about, you had the player of the week join the cast tonight after the game was called, talking about how Oakland went up to Lebanon, got the W last year. Now they want to get some I guess they want to, revenge, pay back. Going into Oakland next week, you heard it on the little plug here right when the show opened. Former SSE player. Yes, I'm Ray Dosky.
Yes,
I am Ray Dosky. But yes, you are a former SSE player. When you were in your high school days, did you ever play a team not probably as talented as Oakland, but you knew the stacks were against you?
This is a great question. Absolutely. When I was in high school, Henry County was the 5A version of Oakland. So Oakland's in 6A, which is the biggest public school division in Tennessee. But right below that is 5A. And Henry County was every single year the state champs. They had the best talent. They had the best players. It was without a doubt Henry County. And Henry County was in our region, so we played them every single year. And Every year we got absolutely trounced by them. But my senior year, we knew it was our last chance to beat them. They were undefeated, the favorite again. And we had a pretty good run at them our senior year. With our senior year was also the first year we didn't go to the playoffs, so it was quote unquote a bad year. But it's not out of the realm of possibility for people to band together and to make it a game. Here's what I'll say: I think Lebanon can make it a fun game. But I truly believe there's no way they beat this Oakland team. And what
No shot.
All respect to Lebanon, the family members, the players, and if there are players listening to this still, take it as a challenge. Because I've been there and I've had the cards stacked against me too. So take my words as a challenge. I don't mean to undermine you in your performance. You guys showed a lot of heart tonight and you won. But Oakland is a different beast, and most people know that. They hadn't lost before the CPA game this season. They hadn't lost a game in like over 3 years, and there's a reason for that. And they're the one program that when they lost that game to a CPA team, which Oakland had been dealing with a lot of injuries too, not to excuse their loss, they did lose. They've shown they bounced back with a viciousness. They took it personal. That loss might have woken up the sleeping giant that was kind of dozing off, So that's what I'm worried about with Lebanon and everyone on that side of the bracket. I'm looking at teams that can maybe challenge Oakland. Farragut, they're one of the teams that they played Beach on week 1. Who's on the other side of the bracket. They played really well. I think Farragut can give them a run, or Maryville, whoever comes out of that. But Blackman, they might come out in the quarterfinals, or Coffee County comes out in the quarterfinals. I don't see anyone challenging Oakland really until the state championship, whether that be a Beach team, Brentwood team, Bartlett team, or Cane Ridge. But it's really Oakland's title to lose is 6A. And I think it says a lot about those young men that they lost the game and they have done nothing. I think Greg Pogue said it was somewhere in the 130s. They've outscored their opponents since that loss, I believe, 130-7. And it's not even fair because they basically got a walkthrough. Do you know who Oakland played today?
Shelbyville.
Shelbyville. They played Shelbyville. Do you know what Shelbyville's record is?
It's abysmal.
Take a guess. The 10 games, just take a wild guess, and I'll expect you to get it right.
They've won, I think, 3 games this year.
They're 1-9.
Of course they're gonna. Yeah.
It's like a bye week. This was like practice for them. Oh, Shelbyville is the only under 4-loss team. Well, there's a 3-loss team in 6A. So
how do you get into the playoffs with a 1 win?
It's the way regions work out. It's
so
extremely
bad.
silly. Back when I played, you typically had to have a 5-win. But it's changed a little bit. But it's because they've cut the division so much.
Why are you saying what you said about Oakland and Lebanon next week, right?
Yeah. They can't even watch film. That film's not going to be good.
Exactly. Yeah. So you watch this game tonight that we had out here on WNSR. Great game. Looks like after the first quarter, it was all Riverdale from that point on until they got into overtime.
Yep.
Especially in the second half, they scored 21 unanswered points to tie the game. We talked about it right before the halftime show, how Riverdale was able to get some momentum, going to extend that long drive in the second quarter, put some points on the board with a little bit over 2 minutes left, and then what they were able to do, go into halftime, make adjustments. And what they said, we're going to come out, we're going to run the ball, and that's what they did over and over again.
Yep.
But the fact that Lebanon was not able to score or take advantage,
close out that game,
whatever, is that the reason what causes what sets that down for you?
Absolutely. You just have to do the things right. When the objective is, when you're up by 14 going into halftime, well, first of all, you shouldn't let Riverdale get 7 at the end of that, because it should have been 28-0 going into halftime.
Absolutely should have been 28-0.
But they let Riverdale kind of trudge back in, and then they don't respond properly out of halftime. The fact that he was even that does sit well with me, and it does sit with me too that the coach, they were kind of doing their victory lap after round 1. I get it was a close game, and it was against a tough Riverdale team. Riverdale's record is 6-4, but they play an extremely tough region. That Murfreesboro region,
they're a better 6-4 team.
Yeah, it's very unindicative of how good that team is. So I get it, but they're celebrating, and then there's still going about your business. With our WNSR Checkdown game of the week, we always interview the coach, and he was too busy, clapping up, high five, and I was like, it reminds me a lot of Vanderbilt when we went 3-0, beat K-State, and we thought we were the kings of the world.
Right.
And guess who we played next week? Alabama. Guess who? Lebanon, who is a good team, which we were a good team then, plays next week. Oakland, the Alabama of Tennessee high school football. So that's the challenge in front of them, and anything can happen. Remember, we said at halftime of this show, me and Ray Dosky went on these airwaves, and we said that I expect Lebanon to close it out, but anything can happen. It's playoff time, and it showed today. Riverdale, they almost came back and won. I will say I would have not felt good for the Lebanon team if they had lost in that first overtime. Riverdale, they score in overtime first. They go for 2. They miss it. Lebanon scores. They go for the field goal, but then they get a silly penalty. I think there's
the call was horrible.
Yeah, it was a horrible call.
Kids were celebrating, but
it was no taunting.
There's no taunting.
If Greg Pogue and Joe Fisher say there's no taunting, I believe there's no taunting.
The refs just didn't want to end the game.
I don't know.
Like,
someone pressed the Buffalo Wild Wings button for a high school football game. It's absolutely ridiculous.
That's the reason why I felt that way. But let's be real here. Lebanon came out flat in the second half.
Yes.
They thought
they won the game.
They really did. I mean, they were riding high. Even they felt like, they had that extended drive in the second quarter. They felt like the game was in hand to them, that it had to go to literally the last possession.
Yep. Absolutely.
In overtime.
So that's what you can expect out of that pod. The winner of Lebanon Oakland, they will go on to play Coffee County and Blackman. We're going to have a special guest call in here at the end of at the top of next hour, excuse me. So stay tuned after that call. I'll go through the 5A, 6A, Division 1A, 2A, 3A brackets, and we'll clear it out, and we'll get everyone updated on what's going on. But we have to take a break. I'm Bruno Reagan. He's Ray Dosky. We're going to the top of the hour. Stay tuned. You're listening to WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
You've been listening to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by
Southern Trophy House, Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes in Brentwood, Sir Speedy of Music City, Boom Baz Craft Beer and Pizza, Tim Leeper Roofing, T. Wright Properties, and the Omni Nashville Hotel.
And make sure you're tuned in next week to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show on Middle Tennessee's home for high school football, Nashville Sports Radio.
On air and online, Sports Radio, WNSR, Brentwood, Nashville.
ABC News, I'm Todd Ant. Candidates are making their closing arguments to voters before Election Day on Tuesday. ABC's Eva Pilgrim is reporting from Pennsylvania, where John Fetterman and Mehmet Oz remain locked in a tight race for the U.S. Senate.
Fetterman saying the experience with his stroke will make him a stronger, more empathetic senator. And Dr. Oz drilling down on what he says are the key issues of this election, the economy and crime. Things here are just so close.
And Georgia Governor Brian Kemp's election bus tour stopped in Madison Friday, where the Republican candidate promised to extend the gas tax suspension once again. President Biden said Friday he was feeling really good about Democrats' chances in the midterm elections. Nike has suspended its relationship with Kyrie Irving and canceled its plans to release his next signature shoe, the latest chapter in the ongoing fallout since the Brooklyn Nets guard tweeted a link to a film containing anti-Semitic material. The Dow gained 402 points. This is ABC News.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Welcome in to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show. Tune in as we provide all the scores and stats from around Middle Tennessee.
The Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show is sponsored by Southern Trophy House, Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes in Brentwood, Sir Speedy of Music City, Boom Baz Craft Beer and Pizza, Tim Leeper Roofing, T. Wright Properties, and the Omni Nashville Hotel.
And now to the Strike and Spare Studios for your hosts, high school sports legend Bruno Reagan and high school graduate Ray Dosky. If we can find a way to add Devlin McKenzie as producer into the open, that would be great.
Welcome back to Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Post-Game Show. I'm Bruno Reagan. We are joined by my co-host, Ray Dosky, who is also playing producer part-time, which is why you haven't heard him too much when we get into these conversations. He is controlling the madness.
I'm coming.
He is coming up. You've been killing it, Ray, so I appreciate it because
I
Lord
try,
knows,
my friend, I try.
Lord knows if it came down to me, there would be absolutely nothing I could do about it. Real quick, before we get our next caller on, I did want to mention that my alma mater, the Clarksville High School Wildcats, unlike Zach Williams' alma mater, the Hendersonville Commandos, they did win in the first round of the They did win in the first round of the 6A playoff. We had Clarksville High School go up against, let's see,
Overton.
They played against John Overton.
Your first home game since 2018, my friend.
Yep. So Clarksville, they defeat Overton. They defeat them 47-14, and really it wasn't a close game all the way around. I mean, Clarksville dominated from start to finish. And now Clarksville will go on to play Cane Ridge at Cane Ridge. And for those that don't know, last season Clarksville played against Cane Ridge, and Cane Ridge was by far the favorite, and Clarksville upset them. So Clarksville looking to repeat. If they did win that game, the winner of that game goes on to the quarterfinal to play against the winner of Beach Smyrna, which, let's be honest, that will be Beach. So basically Clarksville's playing for a chance for a home field spot against Beach too. Or excuse me, I think if Cane Ridge wins, they get home field advantage. But if Clarksville wins, they have to go to Beach. So
you have a great running back out there. You're hoping you're going to rely on him, Jamar Carnell. He had a 62-yard scamper and an 18-yard scamper. They did a little screenplay with Tyson Edwards. Got a 50-yard scamper for a touchdown, and that was pretty much it. It was all Clarksville, which is surprising because Overton actually had a good season. I think they had, won six straight during the season?
5 straight, yes.
5 straight. They were like 0-1, and they won 5 straight, and then they're like, okay, wow, here comes the Overton team, really about to make some noise, and then they come to the playoffs, play your alma mater, and now you get to go out and celebrate tonight, buddy.
No, absolutely. I'll tell you, Isaac Shelby, he always keeps the team 100% prepared, 100% whipped up, and they do something that's so great. They always inch better and better towards the playoffs. Some teams, sometimes teams might come up or they'll have their best games in the middle of the season, but Clarksville always does a great job of ramping it up. They're not looking to go undefeated in the regular season. They're just trying to see what works, find what works, and then they go up and then they absolutely make runs in the playoff. That's what Isaac Shelby's known for. He did it at Clarksville Northeast. That got him the job at Clarksville. So big shout out to them. Who knows? Maybe they'll advance so much in the playoff that I'll get to go home for a home game.
Are you going to go to a game?
You got to remember we're doing this, so it depends. If we still have WNSR Checkdown games of the week, which would be awesome, I'll be here. But if there does come a chance or maybe we get to the quarterfinals, semifinals, then it's like okay, because when these things happen, the amount of teams we can pull from as a station become very, very, very small. So, 100%. There's a chance we don't do WNSR Mid-State Checkdown Game of the Week for semifinal or final. It also just depends who goes out, who makes it, because we're going to do mid-state teams. If non-mid-state teams make it, we'll just have to live with that. But real quick, Ray, here's what we'll do while we wait for a special guest to call in. Let's go to a Mid-State Checkdown scoreboard update.
Scoreboard update from the Strike and Spare studio.
Going over Class 5A for the Mid-State here in the TSSAA first round playoff. The scores: Daniel Boone, they defeat Knoxville Halls 37-15. Knoxville Central defeats Tennessee High 21-14. Morristown West, they defeat Sevier County 31-24. Knoxville West, they defeat Davy Crockett 56-7. Powell defeats Oldewall 49-14. Walker Valley defeats Carnes 22-14. Oak Ridge, they defeat Ray County 36-17. McMinn County, they defeat Campbell County 39-7. Mount Juliet defeats Lincoln County 43-6. Page defeats Green Hill 48-21. Whites County defeats Franklin County 49-30. Nolensville defeats Wilson Central 41-3. Henry County, they defeat Dyers County 49-14 with their continued 5A dominance. Portland defeats Southwind in a very unique score, 11-7. Springfield defeats Memphis Central 27-7. And Clarksville Northeast, they fall to Munford 36-18. Moving on to Class 6A. That's the class of the high school or WNSR Mid-State Checkdown game of the week. Riverdale, Lebanon. That's where Clarksville High is. Hendersonville is. This is where the meat and bones are. Class 6A state playoff first round results. Science Hill coming as the number 1 seed. They defeat Bradley County 35-20. Farragut, they escape Jefferson County 17-7. Bearden defeats Dobbs Bennett 14-6. Maryville defeats Morristown East 49-0. Coffee County defeats Stewart's Creek 28-21. Blackman defeats Cookville 49-20. Lebanon, they defeated Riverdale here on our WNSR Mid-State Checkdown game of the week 41-34. Oakland, they defeat Shelbyville 65-0 in an absolute blowout, and exactly why one-win teams probably should just forfeit the playoff.
Absolutely.
Beach defeats McGavick 49-22. We have Smyrna. They defeat Zach Williams, our co-host and friend. They fall 27-3. Hendersonville will be relocating to 5A here coming up next season. We have Gallatin. They fall to Cane Ridge 48-0. Clarksville, they defeat Nashville Overton. Big win for the Cats 47-14. Ravenwood, they get upset as the number 1 seed. I think they're the first number 1 seed to lose to the number 4 seed.
Wow.
Ravenwood gets upset by Germantown. Germantown wins 30-20. So Germantown will play Houston, who defeated Independence. Houston defeats Independence 27-10. Brentwood defeats Collierville 17-7. And rounding out our 6A playoff first round, Bartlett defeats Centennial 46-28. And that'll wrap up our WNSR Mid-State Checkdown scoreboard update for this segment. Real quick, we got a guest on the line. I won't keep them waiting. We'll go to the Cure hotline, 615-844-5600. Anyone that wants to call in, update. Brady with Main Street Preps, covering the Mid-State and round 1 of the TSSAA playoff. Brady, how you doing?
Doing good, Bruno. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. Just grinding away at it, brother. We're at the tail end of this thing. So tell me, what game were you at? I saw you tweeting a lot about Clarksville. So was it Clarksville that you were at?
Yeah, I was at Clarksville versus Overton.
Perfect. So Clarksville, they defeat Overton 47-14. Clarksville, they advance to the next round of the 6A playoff. They'll be playing against Cane Ridge, a team they upset last year. Can you tell us about the match they just played against Overton? Was it at all any close? Was there a slow start, or what was the story between this game? Was it utter dominance from Clarksville High School?
I would say it was pretty close to utter dominance. Both teams ran the ball a lot, especially to start. It was actually 0-0 after the first quarter. Clarksville led 14-0 at halftime, and then they scored on every single one of their possessions in the second half except for the last kneel down. So, they absolutely took off there in the second half. Their defense was very good, forcing 3 turnovers. They scored on a kickoff return. The offense was obviously very good, so really it was a case of all 3 phases just clicking.
Clarksville, they upset Cane Ridge last year in the playoff, and then I don't know. I can't remember the last time Clarksville has made it past the quarterfinal in the playoff, but they got a good team this year, 7-3. They did lose to McGavick for the first game of the season, and Beach was up 35-0 on McGavick in the first round of the playoff. And that if Clarksville does upset Cane Ridge again, they have to go through a Beach team. Is it possible that this Clarksville team, as you've seen it, they can pull off the upset again against Cane Ridge and maybe give a competitive matchup to Beach?
Well, you mentioned, that them not having been to the second round in a while. That is very true. I actually asked Coach Shelby about it today. He said even he didn't know, but he guaranteed he was going to look it up. I actually looked it up before I started writing. As far as I can tell, it was 2006 last time they got past the second round. Yeah, so it's been a minute. You mentioned that loss to McGavick. I would, you don't want to call losses fluky because that discredits what the other team did. But that was probably the worst game I've seen Clarksville play since I moved here. I think they had 5 turnovers. They had several times where the center just snapped the ball over the head of the quarterback or the punter. I think if they played McGavick again, they'd beat them almost as bad as they beat Overton tonight. That's just saying how far that they've come.
Yeah.
Now going against Cane Ridge, obviously that's going to be a tough matchup. Cane Ridge is a really, really good team, having beaten CPA earlier this year, which, you're not going to see like a scrubby team doing that. That's a heck of a win for them. But I think CHS absolutely has a chance to win that game. And then you mentioned going through Beach later. It's a lot harder to see them winning that game, but this is a really good team.
Yeah, so you cover for Main Street Preps in the entire Clarksville area, and I think there were a few Clarksville area teams that were in the playoff. I believe Clarksville Northeast, Clarksville Academy. Do you have any updates on those teams as well?
Yeah, so both of those teams actually lost tonight. Clarksville Academy was a team I actually had pretty good confidence in winning that game, but got upset by Lakeway Christian in overtime. And Northeast went down to Munford. I had some confidence in them winning that game. Munford was 10-0, but with a very weak schedule. So I thought Northeast had a chance to go in there and win that game, but they ended up losing that one, 38-16.
Do you have any favorites going into the 5A, 6A? Because those are who we kind of covered. Division II maybe also. Do you have any people penciled in that you might think you could declare a solid prediction for early state champions in these divisions?
Yeah, I mean, 6A, it's pretty easy to say Beach there. Or not Beach, but Oakland. Beach is really good, too. Beach is probably the number 2.
Probably be the state final matchup.
Yeah, that would be a heck of a state final matchup. I mean, but Oakland has to be the favorite. 5A, it gets a little harder to see the favorites there. I know a team that, if you ask Isaac Shelby, he really likes Springfield there. That's a team that he obviously has great respect for. Whether or not Springfield actually goes and runs the table there, that's to be seen. Henry County obviously is always going to be very good. Knoxville West, Nolansville, a couple teams that I'm looking at possibly doing things.
Brady, are there any surprises that you might have heard on your end with your connections and wires and while you're on the job that I maybe haven't known about or brought up on air yet? Is there anything that surprises you in the first round of TSSAA playoff, or are things kind of shaking out how you expected?
I mean, the Clarksville Academy loss is very surprising to me. I didn't see them losing that game really in any way, shape, or form. But unfortunately, that's just how things turned out. One game, I'm not sure if you guys have talked about the Riverdale Lebanon game.
That was our game of the week. That was the one our station carried. So it was a crazy game.
Yeah, that was an absolutely crazy game. I actually had Lebanon winning that game in our staff pick, so I was happy to get that one right. But hearing they had blown a 21-point lead and then going to, what was it, double overtime? Pretty crazy stuff.
No, it was Lebanon. Riverdale scored first in overtime, went for 2, missed it. Then Lebanon scored, and all they had to do was to kick the extra point. But for absolutely no reason, the referees threw a flag on Lebanon celebrating the touchdown. The kids weren't taunting or anything. They were just jumping up and down, happy they were going to win the game. Threw a flag on them, had a 35-yard extra point, missed it. So I would have been heartbroken if Lebanon lost on terms like that. But they did end up scraping out the win. So, yeah, we're coming, We're coming down to the end of our. I just want to make sure I get you on, get your insight on all things Clarksville because I can't be there. So I'm glad you have everything connected. Brady, is there anything else you might have seen or heard going around the mid-state, or anything on your end you want to bring up on the show?
The Ravenwood upset.
Oh yeah, that was a big one.
That was a big one.
Ravenwood, yeah. Oh my gosh, how about that? Man, nothing I can quite think of. I know we got some great games next week. I mean, that Clarksville Cane Ridge game is going to be awesome. Looking forward to seeing Springfield in Munford in 5A. I think that should be a really good game. I mean, overall, just excited this playoff time. I mean, this is always just so much fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It just hasn't been football weather yet, so I'm kind of wondering what it will hit.
When it hits, it's going to hit like a truck.
Yeah. Brady, I wanted to ask you before I let you go, what game will you be covering next week in case we do have a WNSR Checkdown Mid-State Game of the Week and I do get you on again next week? What game will you be at and will you be covering?
Yeah, I mean, as of now, it's got to be Clarksville, Cane Ridge. I mean, that's a little bit of a drive for me here from Clarksville going down to Antioch, but I mean, I got to imagine that's going to be the front runner for the game I'll be at.
Sounds good, Brady. I appreciate you hopping on as always, brother.
I appreciate you guys.
That is Brady with Main Street Preps. I tried to say his last name, and I did it absolutely dirty. I'm going to ask him off air so I can do respect to him and get it phonetically right. But if you want to follow him on Twitter, he's at Brady_MSP. He covers the Clarksville area for Main Street Preps. He's probably the best one that does it, so I'm always glad to have him on the show. Real quick, we're going to head to a break, and then we'll go into our last segment where I review all the scores for our Division II updates, so you won't want to miss it, and that'll round out our show for the day. Ray Dosky behind the board. I'm Bruno Reagan. You're listening to WSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
If you're in the mood for quality burgers and handmade milkshakes, Mooyah is where you need to be. With 2 locations in Brentwood and Franklin, Mooyah is your only choice for handcrafted Angus beef burgers, fresh cut fries, and homemade ice cream milkshakes. With vegan, paleo, and keto options, Mooyah has something for every taste. Order online, dine in, or carry out. Located in Brentwood and in Franklin off West McEwen Drive. For the best quality and the best taste at the best price, make it Mooyah. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike, Southern Trophy has been serving Nashville and Middle Tennessee for over 62 years. Southern Trophy offers a wide array of services like custom-designed awards, cast bronze plaques, etched crystal awards, laser-engraved corporate gifts, promotional items, merch, embroidery, screen printing, signage, and banners. Browse their entire collection online at southerntrophy.com or on Facebook at Southern Trophy. Feel free to give them a call at 615-256-7295. That's 615-256-7295. Southern Trophy. They do their best to help you recognize your best.
Lifetime Murfreesboro resident and businessman Taylor Wright and his T. Wright Properties and Century 21 Wright Realty are proud to be the sponsors of all the high school football coverage tonight on Nashville Sports Radio, especially the Blackman game at Riverdale High School. For rental property and property management, it's T. Wright Properties. For buying and selling real estate, it's Century 21 Wright Realty. Nobody does it better in Rutherford County. Visit TWrightProperties.com to learn more. And thanks to everybody who supports high school athletics and enjoy this night of high school football in the borough. Hello, this is Greg Pogue. The first time I met Tim Leeper, owner of Tim Leeper Roofing, I didn't know I needed a roof on my home, but I recalled meeting Tim as a huge supporter of Hope Hines' annual charity golf tournament, and upon further research at TimLeeperRoofing.com, that his long-based mid-state company was a former recipient of Roofing Contractor of the Year in Tennessee. Now in these trying times, we all should seek a comfort level personally and professionally. So if you have roofing issues, either residential or commercial, I recommend Tim Leeper Roofing. Please give them a visit at TimLeeperRoofing.com.
Grizz Nation, make some big-time noise and don't miss the Grizzlies this Sunday at 5 as they take on the Wizards. Be sure to get there early to catch all the action as the guys heat up play during the regular season. Get hyped, get ready for star-studded showdowns, and secure your tickets today by calling 901-888-HOOP or shopgrizzlies.com.
Greg Pogue back once again to tell you about Bongo Java, Nashville's oldest and most celebrated coffee company, now also located in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Reward yourself for surviving Nashville traffic with fresh, locally roasted coffee, classic handcrafted espresso drinks, and fresh baked goods all day long. And free Wi-Fi, so you don't have to work from home. Number 1 in customer service. You made it through the traffic. Reward yourself with a perfect pick-me-up at Bongo Java. Fresh coffee, delicious treats, great atmosphere. Open 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. daily. Bongo Java at the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, Ray here from Run With It. Let me tell you about our sponsor, Boom Boss Craft Pizza and Tap House. And with 4 locations in Bellevue, Murfreesboro, Spring Hill, and East Nashville, they're your home for the best gourmet pizza and craft beers in Music City. Join me on Monday nights at the East Nashville location for poker night. And if you think you know everything, try Wednesday night trivia at both locations. Gourmet pizzas, craft beers, online at BoomBozz.com. Boom Boss Craft Pizza and Tap House.
Welcome back to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show with your hosts, with 40 consecutive starts in a row, Bruno Reagan, and a guy who has shown up to work on time for the most part 40 days in a row, Ray Dosky.
Welcome back, Mid-State Checkdown post-game show. Going here at the tail end of it. Last segment, we got about 8 or 9 minutes left, so I want to make sure we get all the scores from Division II, Class A, AA, and AAA. So, Ray, let's play the music for our Mid-State Checkdown scoreboard update.
Air Studio.
Mid-State Checkdown scoreboard update. Division II, Class A, first round of the TSSAA football playoff. Friendship Christian, they have a bye, and they will host home against DCA, who defeats Fayetteville Academy 48-13. USJ, they have a first round bye, and they will be hosting at home to Lakeway Christian, who defeated Clarksville Academy 43-42. We just heard that was one of the bigger upsets in the mid-state here by our friend Bradley with Main Street Preps. Nashville Christian, they are on a bye at home against Trinity Christian, who defeats Kings Academy 24-20. Jackson Christian, they defeat Columbia Academy 49-14 and will host a home match against MTCS, who defeats Tipton Rosemark 45-14. Moving on to Division II, Class AA of the TSSAA first round state football playoff. Lasune, they will have a bye and home field advantage against CPA, who defeated Boyd Buchanan 27-16. CPA, obviously the 5-5 team with a win over Oakland for Oakland's first loss in 30 or so games in 3 years. So congrats to CPA on their first round advance and their continued success. Chattanooga Christian, they defeat Good Pasture 27-7. FRA, they hosted Knoxville Grace at home. FRA, obviously coached by former Vanderbilt player Justin Geisinger, and FRA defeats Knoxville Grace 49-27. Knoxville Webb has a bye, and they will host home against Davidson Academy, who defeats North Point Christian 29-14. Litson Academy, who are widely considered 10-0 and the best team in the state, currently ranked number 1 by a long shot on the Max Preps Top 25. They have a home first round bye, and they will play next week against Silverdale, who defeated ECS 27-23. Moving on to the big dogs of Division II. Division II Class AAA of the first round of the TSSAA football playoff. Knoxville Catholic, they play it against Christian Brothers, and Christian Brothers successfully defeated Knoxville Catholic 41-27. They'll play against NBA, who had a first round bye, and they will be playing NBA at home. St. Benedict, they fall to Macaulay, one of the better teams. Macaulay will be playing against Ensworth next week, with Ensworth at home. Ensworth having the first round bye, so that would be a big matchup already in Division II. Ensworth and Macaulay, and the winner will most likely play against the winner of NBA, Christian Brothers, which is NBA. MUS, they defeat Father Ryan. Close game, 17-10. Father Ryan, 2-8 team, almost pulled off the upset. They will be playing against Baylor. Baylor will be at home. Baylor had the first round bye on their side of the bracket. And then Pope John Paul defeats Briarcrest, and they advance to play against Brentwood Academy. Brentwood Academy will have home field advantage, and they had the first round bye. So looking at the entire bracket, Christian Brothers against NBA at NBA's house, Macaulay against Ensworth at Ensworth's house, MUS at Baylor's house, and Pope John Paul at Brentwood Academy's house. Pope John Paul, they're my underdog sleeper team. They got to play against a tough Brentwood Academy team, but I would not be surprised if they get it done just like they got it done against Ravenwood. And that will end our mid-state checkdown scoreboard update. That was a
long one, man.
That was every score, 1A through 6A public school, 1A through AAA on private school. I just had a motorcycle drive by us outside.
That's the post-game show for you.
That was the post-game show for you. It scared the heck out of me, but with fortitude, we have finished it off. Real quick, I got word from upper management, the higher-ups here at WNSR, that there is a chance they go for the WNSR Mid-State Checkdown Game of the Week to Clarksville Cane Ridge. So there is a possibility.
How exciting would that be that we close out the playoff?
Yeah, I would have to get Isaac Shelby on the phone for that one. Win or lose, we'll get him on. Make sure we can talk everything about Clarksville season and how good they've done. It's a very successful season in terms of Clarksville. Hendersonville, they go to the playoff, but it's a bad season because Hendersonville has had this history of success and state championships. Clarksville, they don't have that history. You heard they haven't been to the quarterfinals since 2006. So This is unprecedented territory for them. That'd be awesome if that works out. If that doesn't work out for the Mid-State Checkdown High School Game of the Week, I do think there could be a chance we end up at a Nashville Christian game. And if that doesn't work out, who knows? I'm just telling you what I've heard on the back end, maybe some rumors. I would love if we get Cane Ridge, Clarksville to work out, because that is a rematch, grudge match from last season. Two great teams. That would be an absolute banger. It'd be hard to top what we saw tonight, though, Ray. I mean, Bradley didn't even know we were doing the game, and he was like, yeah, this was the craziest game we heard so far.
Probably the best game tonight.
Absolutely.
In terms of like competition, close,
high scoring,
playoff. It was a playoff game
and high scoring too. So
everything
it wasn't
was
boring.
Online,
so there was a come from behind aspect of it.
I mean, because you look at some of these other scores, a lot of blowouts. You know, we talked about the Oakland game. The other game was probably maybe Springfield versus Memphis Central. It was a close game until probably the second half. I know they ended up winning 27-7 that game, but Springfield had 3 interceptions in the first half.
Yeah,
I thought for sure that, oh man, but they only scored 7. They were only up 14-7 at that time, and I'm like, wow, they really weren't able to turn those turnovers into points. Yeah. But if you look at some of these other games, Oakland, I mean not Oakland, but East Nashville, White House almost pulled the upset against East Nashville tonight. They were up late in the quarter, 10-6. They were up on East Nashville. East Nashville was able to run it. They were able to win it 14-10 in that game, so they were able to advance on. That was a crazy game as well. But John Pope, Pope Prep. Let me get that.
At least you said it right. I always say JP too. So
they won convincingly. Father Ryan won convincingly tonight.
Father Ryan fell. They almost pulled. They almost won.
Yeah. So no. Not Franklin. Not Father Ryan.
FRA.
FRA. I'm talking about Franklin Road Academy. I meant the Franklin Road Academy. And then if you look at Page, big winners over Green Hill.
Yep.
Green Hills. I mean, that was just a big one there tonight. So there's a lot of blowouts, but so I was excited that we were able to get the game of the week on our station tonight.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe next week. Maybe that'll give Clarksville the edge they need to make the upset against Cane Ridge.
And you post-gaming, we doing a halftime show?
Nothing better. There'd be nothing better.
Yeah, exactly.
Reviewing the second round of the 6A state football playoff, Science Hill will be home against Farragut. Maryville will be home against Bearden. Coffee County will be home against Blackman. Oakland will be home against Lebanon. Beach will be home against Smyrna. Cane Ridge will be home against Clarksville. And Houston will be home against Germantown, and Bartlett will be home against Brentwood. So that is your second round 6A to look forward to in the public school division. A lot of people are expecting Oakland to run through it. I also predict Oakland Beach state championship, but who knows? Anything can happen here. Ray, it was great to be back in the studio and absolutely grind out some high school football tonight.
Absolutely, man.
As we start getting down into the nitty-gritty, it's going to be more in-depth analysis on these games. We just covered so many games in a short amount of time, so many callers, but now we're going to start cutting the competition in half every single week. I expect that football weather. I'm excited. You can follow us on Twitter at Nash Sports Radio. We'll probably have the update there when we do get a game of the week scheduled. We always go up by the seat of our pants for this thing, but it's been nothing but fun and successful. So, Ray, I appreciate you getting behind the board when Devlin's gone.
Yeah, anytime.
We'll do it again tomorrow, or not tomorrow. We'll do it again next week. I guarantee you we'll have a game. So, if not, I'll be very surprised.
Be sure to tune into our social media spaces. Listen to all the shows. We got the afternoon stretch, Bill King, you name it. We got kicking off tomorrow, Prep Football Talk. Then you have Sam Kincaid on the Powell Hour, 9 o'clock. Hopefully we'll be able to find something early in the week to see where we're going to be next week.
And what do they got Sunday, too? What does WNSR
Oh, yes. Even though Greg did not plug it a few times. Yes, I co-host a show called Run With It with Pat and Cook from 11 to 12. It's usually the NFL kickoff show. So, yeah.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate everyone tuning in, listening to The Real Pros with Greg Pogue and Joe Fisher. I appreciate you guys listening to me also as a guy who's been around this space for a long time. I appreciate you, Ray Dosky. Appreciate Adam Johnson, Ted Johnson, everyone that makes this happen. This is wrapping up our first round of the playoff WNSR post-game show. I'm Bruno Reagan. That's Ray Dosky. Thank you all very much. Have a good night. You were listening to WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
You've been listening to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football